is Andre Banks coming today from Banks Credit Chat, giving an update from a video I've done in the past, how to obtain an apartment when you have bad credit. And it's kind of an update for late 2022 and 2023, especially for the economic climate that we're going to find ourselves in, where credit is not going to be as easily accessible as it's been. A lot of people are going to have challenges where they might lose jobs, which we go into a recession. And it's just a good idea, especially I'm dealing with just a number of different people, to give just an update of what some other steps you can do. 5 or 6 different steps you can do, especially if you have bad credit and looking to obtain an apartment. Apartment buying and renting is going to become much more. I do predict that we're going to have people lose their ability to maintain their home in the future because of just job losses, of just not being prepared. And having access to be able to obtain an apartment housing is crucial. So step number 1, just for an update, is to get a letter of recommendation. People tend to forget that you're basing yours, when you're getting an apartment, you're setting up outside of the fact of credit, especially if you don't have that to stand on. Words by other people vouching for you goes a long way. You're trying to paint the best picture as possible of why you should be a good tenant. And if you have letters of recommendation, especially from your employment or just people that you've known, if you have even from a previous apartment you had, and you can get a letter of recommendation that, and even though your credit might be challenged when you're trying to move out of that place, but initially if you had a good standing with that landlord, obtaining a letter of recommendation would be great. And that's, the more you can show, the better it is. Again, you're trying to paint the best picture and showing to the landlord why you should be allowed to be as a tenant in their particular property. I know it works well for me, especially if I'm dealing with any tenant, if they can show me some letter of recommendation, especially if they had some credit challenges in the past. Number 2 is, and this can't be stressed enough, what's your action plan if you have credit challenges, and what are you doing to address them? So many people tend to say, they're going to pull up your credit report. Any landlord worth his weight in salt will pull up your credit report and see that. But if you can actually show to the fact that you're tackling some of those issues with the creditors, showing, hey, that I'm attacking this bill, I see that collection account here and it's affecting my credit, but I'm working out a plan with them, it still goes a long way. So showing, having that you have a financial plan of paying back the debt obligation that you owe, in addition to having your letter of recommendation, goes a long way and helps you, especially if you have bad credit, potentially obtain a rental. Thirdly, proving your ability to pay. And most people say, well, I can pay, and they're going to verify, of course, with recent pay stubs or something that's showing electronically that goes into your account. But another factor that many people don't recognize is that if you have bad credit, and if you can show consistently that you're paying your utilities on time, it goes a long way with the landlord, because it shows that, hey, you know what? They're paying the utilities, and having electricity and water and access like that is important, and you can show that history of showing consistency that you've always paid your bills on time for your utilities. That also goes to the fact of, in addition to showing that you can be able to pay by what you're obtaining in terms of your employment. So having a consistency paying your utility bills and showing that, hey, you can see from Axe Call up to Dominion Power, because I'm in Virginia, Dominion Power, or if you're in New York City, from where I'm originally from, Con Edison, showing a consistency of utility bills that have been paid on time, it does speak volumes, and you'd be surprised. It does go a long way. Eventually, it's getting the landlord to see your ability to pay. Fourth different option for you is to come with an idea of having a roommate in there. 2 people, always says better than one. They can have that, and you can have them person sign on the lease itself, showing with a roommate. And if people don't want to have a roommate, I can understand that. But if you're having credit challenges, try to convince a close friend or family or whoever that you're going to come in with a roommate. It does go well, and because it's not just based on your income and your bad credit. Maybe the roommate might have better credit, and even if they're having credit challenges, both 2 incomes really would go after that. Yeah, there's a danger that you may fall out with the roommate or something of that nature, but we're trying to get inside a place and show the best why you're able to pay even though you have so much, you have credit challenges on your credit report. So consider having a roommate, coming with the roommate, and explain that two people are going to be on a lease. It goes a lot further than just being by yourself, especially if you have bad credit. Number 5, I think it's number 4 or number 5. We got just can't stress this enough is being around, and in addition to having that letter of recommendation, as I mentioned, showing your ability to pay, which is utilities, which I mentioned, especially rent, going with a roommate. Number 4 would be consider getting a cosigner. Now, I touched upon this in the first video, but it stresses enough to go, if you have someone, a family member preferably, that can vouch for you and willing to co-sign, and they have good credit, of course a co-signer would be ideal, especially if you're looking to rent. But we live in a information age, and especially with credit, there are places that will provide you a co-signer for a fee. There's service places that do this. I do not recommend them at first unless you know that you are going to be able to pay consistently and be a good tenant. Then you may look into a service that provides the ability to co-sign for you, for the lack of a better term, saying that, hey, yes, and it is a paid fee. I'm not sure what that fee is, and I'm not going to recommend anything because I think this is a last-ditch resort, but there are companies that will, if you pay them a fee, they will vouch for you in that fashion. You have to look out for them and find out which ones are reputable, but that is an option as well. Plan of action, I'm going to keep reiterating again because there's a lot of people are going to be suffering, especially, and they're going to be out of their apartments or out of their homes. And if you're having issues with obtaining an apartment and you need one, these steps will definitely put you in the right direction. We'll go over them again. Number 1, letter of recommendation from either employer or past people that you preferably even have a past moments from where a person you rented before, where you had the credit challenges, would be ideal. A letter of recommendation goes a long way. Proving your ability to perform, again, not just by showing your paychecks, but your utility bills. You can, whoever your power company, water bill, you can show a consistent history. It goes a long way in changing the landlord's opinion of why they should rent you. 3, that co-signer could be either a family member or a close member of who you trust that has a high credit score, or if you really in desperate need, and this is the last way, you can go to a pay service that Joe's at, but just making sure that you can be able to, they're vouching for you, you have to, and you're paying that fee, you got to be able to perform and do what you say you're going to do. Plan of action to show you how you're paying the debt and addressing the items on your credit report goes a long way with the landlord explaining, hey, yeah, I see that debt there, I'm working with them, I call them up, I have a payment plan with them and showing that. And though it doesn't reflect on my credit report, but I have a plan of action of going about that and doing that. Those different options for updates for paying, getting an apartment, if you're obtaining credit, if you have bad credit challenges, are some of the different things you can do. Want to do a quick update, kind of jumble things around, a couple things in my mind, things that I've known that I look for with tenants who've tried to come to me in that point. I thought about some of the things that won me over, and if you think of anything else, you can put a comment in the description. But those are just giving updates for how to obtain an apartment if you have bad credit. If this video has been any value to you, please subscribe, leave some comments. Until my next video. Oh, one more thing. Try to find a landlord, like myself, who doesn't only look at credit. One who just not based it on credit. They're harder to find. I'm not saying I haven't gotten burned by doing some of these steps. I wouldn't recommend it to unless you're a newbie landlord. I think you follow every step about that. But you get to judge people as you rent properties and deal with real estate for a number of times. But that's another option for yourself. Look up landlords who may be open to not using credit as a base. Find another landlord. So if these options have been any value to you, please subscribe, leave some comments. And for my next video on Banks Credit Chat, I'm out.